Good morning. So, you may remember the other morning I went for a run with the van, which was a special military unit in the state of Israel. I just saw there's a funeral today because one of their commandos was murdered yesterday. So, just brings it home that though there's a peace deal, they've lost the son of Israel. And do you know what? The lone soldiers. I went to a meal the other day, and young men, the lone soldier is someone who's travelled here with no family from all corners of the globe to defend something that's far greater than them. And that's something that I think that many of us in Britain don't have. What's far greater than us? We've created a selfish society and a selfish generation where we see us as individuals and our family as the greatest thing, whereas these young men travel on their own to come back to the state of Israel, some of them who have never visited here, to put their life on the front line, to fight, to defend, when I say something far greater than them, to defend their homeland. And historically, when you do the history tours here, you look at history, you understand the Jews were driven from this land multiple times with the promise to always come home. And it's sort of like, I've done the Holocaust History Museum yesterday. It's sort of like, it made me think and understand a lot more about how you'd have to fight. And certainly how, morning, look at me out of breath. But those lone soldiers, certainly, there's so many young men who are travelling. I guess their mums and their dads must be worried about them, but at the same time immensely proud. But they're also, as I saw so many young soldiers here, because they conscript at 18, the young girls, they're just kids. They're just kids, man. But if you're in a nation where we are now, that's surrounded by jihadists, Iranian funded, whether it be Hezbollah, whether it be the Houthis or Hamas. We talk a lot about Hamas, but what about all the other Islamic Jihad? What about every other jihadist organisation that is on the border of this nation, that is intent on the total obliteration and destruction and murder of every single Jew? It's a very, you come here to understand, to see what they're fighting for. And I guess I just see in my group chat a funeral invite for one of these young men who sadly lost his life yesterday. I guess I felt, listening to the young men, or seeing those young men, the lone soldiers, let's call them, it's inspiring that they're willing to come from every corner of the globe to defend something that's far bigger than them or their family. They're defending their home, their biblical home, their promised home, and their people. So, anyway, good morning, especially good morning, Tel Aviv, where I'm leaving today. But have a good day, everyone.
Tommy Robinson's reflection from Israel reads less like a political rant and more like a personal reckoning, a moment of clarity about purpose, sacrifice, and the moral decay he believes has consumed the West. Standing amid the dust and tension of the Middle East, he looks at the young Israeli soldiers not as distant figures in a foreign conflict, but as living embodiments of values he feels Britain has abandoned: faith, unity, and duty to something larger than oneself. When Robinson describes the lone soldiers, young men and women who have left their homes, families, and comfort to defend a homeland they may never have even seen before, his voice carries both admiration and sorrow. It's admiration for their courage and sorrow for what he sees as the collapse of those same virtues in modern Britain. He paints a picture of a Western world that has grown soft, obsessed with comfort, consumerism, and individualism, while nations like Israel are forced to harden themselves through necessity and purpose. The young Israelis, as Robinson sees them, are not motivated by fame or fortune, but by something far older, a sense of identity, a sacred connection to their history, and a belief that their home is worth defending. He contrasts this with a Britain that, in his words, has created a selfish generation, one that fights online instead of in spirit, one that no longer believes in defending anything beyond its own convenience. His tone carries both warning and wistfulness, a yearning for the kind of shared conviction that he finds alive in Israel but dead at home. His visit to the Holocaust History Museum serves as a turning point in his reflection. It grounds his admiration in history's weight, reminding him and his audience of what happens when evil goes unchecked and when people stop fighting for truth, identity, and survival. For Robinson, the lesson of that history is clear. Complacency kills. The freedom to live without vigilance, without sacrifice, is an illusion. Seeing the graves of the fallen and attending the funeral of a slain commando transforms his commentary from political to deeply human. These aren't just soldiers to him. They are the living descendants of a people who refused to vanish, a people who, generation after generation, chose to stand and fight rather than surrender their right to exist. In the broader context of Robinson's worldview, Israel becomes a symbol, not just of national defense, but of civilizational resilience. It represents a society that, despite constant threat, still teaches its youth to serve, protect, and sacrifice. Britain, in his eyes, has lost that edge. It no longer produces generations ready to defend their beliefs, their faith, or even their own history. He uses Israel's story as a mirror to reflect Western decline, where one nation's youth trains to face existential threats, another's debates pronouns and policies detached from any sense of national identity. Yet, beyond his criticism lies something more introspective. There's a sense that Robinson himself is searching for meaning, for connection, for a belief that life can still stand for something larger. His time in Israel, surrounded by soldiers who believe in their mission with absolute conviction, seems to have reignited that search. His Good Morning, Tel Aviv, feels almost symbolic. A farewell not just to a place, but to a vision of what he wishes Britain could be. United, principled, unashamed of its history, and willing to defend its people. Ultimately, Robinson's reflection is about more than Israel or politics. It's a meditation on the human need for purpose, the understanding that comfort without conviction leads to emptiness. Whether one agrees with his politics or not, there's an undeniable power in his words. The recognition that courage, faith, and identity are not outdated ideas, but the foundation of every nation that survives. And in the lone soldiers of Israel, he finds a mirror of what he believes Britain must rediscover, a generation willing to stand for something greater than itself,